It's English time! Hi, I'm Teacher Mitch. Come and join me as we learn English the easy way. Subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to keep updated with my latest uploads. Please also share and hit the like button if you appreciate my videos. Thank you! Kamusta kayo, grade 7? Nasa lesson 2 na tayo. Ang bilis lang, hindi ba? Alam kong excited na kayong matuto, kaya mabuti pa'y magsimula na tayo. Our target learning competency for this video is analyze a literary text as an expression of individual or communal values within a structural context. In our previous video, we discussed some of the elements of a short story. Ngayong araw na to, tatalakayin natin ang iba pang elements ng short story, particularly the types of conflict and point of view. Let's begin with conflict. Medyo na-discuss ko na ang tungkol sa conflict sa previous video natin. Ano nga ba ulit ang conflict? Conflict is the central struggle or problem that drives the plot. Conflict creates tension and motivates the character to take action, ultimately leading to the story's resolution. In our illustration of a plot diagram, where does the conflict arise? Correct! The conflict arises at the rising action part. Other term used are complication stage or inciting incident. Take note, complication is any single incident that gives birth to a conflict. How does conflict develop? To understand the development of conflict, one has to look at the problems encountered by the protagonist on his or her journey in the story, against the antagonist, which could be a person, social norm, technology, nature, animals, and others. Classifications of conflict. Conflict is classified into two. The first one is internal conflict. It occurs when a character struggles with their own thoughts, emotions, or decisions. It's a battle within oneself, such as facing fear, doubt, or a moral dilemma. For example, a character might wrestle with feelings of guilt, love, or the choice between right and wrong. Example of this conflict is character versus self. The second one is external conflict. It happens when a character faces opposition from outside forces. This can involve conflicts with other characters, society, nature, or technology. Examples include a hero battling a villain, a person struggling to survive a storm, or someone facing societal norms. Examples of this type of conflict are character versus character, character versus society, character versus nature, character versus supernatural, and character versus technology. In older literature and discussions, the term used was man versus man, since man was often used generically to refer to all humans. But modern usage seeks to be more precise and avoid implying that conflict is limited to male characters only. Therefore, the term man versus man has evolved into character versus character to reflect a more inclusive and gender-neutral language. Character versus character acknowledges that conflicts in stories can involve individuals of any gender. This shift makes the terminology more applicable to a wide range of characters, including women, non-binary individuals, or even non-human entities in fiction. The broader term character helps reflect the diversity of storytelling today. Going back to our discussion on the types of conflict, here are some examples for each type. Under internal conflict is character versus self. It occurs when a character faces an internal struggle, grappling with their own emotions, desires, or decisions. This type of conflict is often about overcoming personal fears, doubts, guilt, or moral dilemmas. In GMA 7's drama series before, entitled My Husband's Lover, it illustrates a character versus self conflict because the main character, played by Tom Rodriguez, struggles internally with his own emotions, identity, and desires. He is torn between his societal obligations as a married man with a family and his true feelings for another man, played by the role of Dennis Trillo. This internal battle involves his fear of rejection, guilt, shame, and confusion about his sexuality. Meanwhile, here are the examples of external conflict. Character versus character. It is a conflict between two or more characters. It's often a physical or emotional struggle, like a hero battling a villain or two people in a disagreement. An example is the battle between Cardo Dalisay and Bungo, as portrayed by Baron Geisler in the television drama action series Ang Probinsyano. Character versus society. The protagonist is at odds with societal norms, laws, or institutions. This could involve fighting against oppression, discrimination, or unjust systems. Miracle in Cell Number 7 is a character versus society conflict because the protagonist, Yong-gu, an intellectually disabled man, is wrongfully accused of a crime he didn't commit. His struggle is not just with individuals, but with a legal system and society that judges him based on his disability and circumstances, rather than the truth. Character versus nature. A character struggles against natural forces like weather, animals, or disasters. Survival stories often feature this type of conflict, such as a person trying to survive a storm or a harsh wilderness. Titanic is a character versus nature conflict because the central struggle involves the character's fight for survival against the forces of nature, specifically the freezing waters of the Atlantic Ocean after the ship hits an iceberg. Character versus supernatural. The protagonist faces forces beyond the natural world, like ghosts, monsters, or magic. This type of conflict is common in fantasy or horror genres. Shake, Rattle, and Roll is an example of character versus supernatural conflict because the characters, in its various episodes, face battles against supernatural beings such as ghosts, monsters, and other entities that defy the natural world. Character versus technology. A character faces challenges from advanced machines or technology, often seen in science fiction. This could involve robots, artificial intelligence, or futuristic machinery malfunctioning or being used against the protagonist. A popular movie with a character versus technology conflict is The Matrix in 1999. In this iconic film, the protagonist battles against a highly advanced artificial intelligence system that has enslaved humanity within a simulated reality. The conflict arises from human beings controlled and manipulated by machines, and the main character's journey to break free from this technological domination. Let's proceed to discussing point of view. Point of view, or POV, refers to the perspective from which a story is told or narrated. It can be identified by the pronoun that the narrator uses to recount events. In its simplest explanation, point of view is who is telling the story. It's the way we see and hear what happens in a story. POV has three main types: first person, second person, and third person. Third-person point of view is further classified into third-person limited or third-person omniscient. Let's discuss each. First person. The story is told by someone in the story, using I or we. It's like the narrator is talking about himself or herself. Here's a short example of a first-person point of view scenario. I woke up to the sound of my alarm blaring in the dark room. Groaning, I slammed the snooze button and buried my face in the pillow. 5 more minutes, I muttered, knowing full well that I was already late for school. Reluctantly, I dragged myself out of bed, the cold floor sending chills through my feet. As I brushed my teeth, I couldn't stop thinking about the big math test I hadn't studied for. What if I fail? What if I forget everything the moment I sit down? When I finally got to school, my best friend Alex was waiting by the lockers. "You ready for the test?" he asked, smiling as if it were no big deal. I tried to act cool, but inside, my stomach was doing flips. "Yeah, totally," I lied, hoping he couldn't see through me. In this example, the narrator, who is also the main character, tells the story using I, so we know their thoughts and feelings directly from their perspective. Second person. The story talks to you, the reader, using the pronoun you. This type of POV occurs rarely in narration. It uses the second-person pronoun you. It's like the story is giving you instructions or talking directly to you. Here is a short example of a second-person point of view scenario. You step into the room, and the first thing you notice is the eerie silence. The air feels thick, almost like it's holding its breath. You glance around, but there's no one in sight. The only sound is your own heartbeat, thumping louder with every step you take. As you move further in, the door creaks shut behind you, making you jump. You try to shake off the chill running down your spine, but something tells you that you're not alone. You reach for the flashlight in your pocket, your fingers trembling slightly as you switch it on. The beam of light cuts through the darkness, but it only makes you feel more exposed. You take a deep breath and tell yourself to keep moving, but each step feels heavier than the last. In the second-person point of view, the story is directed at you, the reader, making it feel like you are the main character experiencing the events. Third person. The story is told by someone outside the story, using he, she, or they. It's like someone is watching and telling us what happens. Now, there are 2 kinds of third person. Third person limited. The narrator only knows what one character is thinking or feeling. They see things from just one character's perspective. Here is a short example of a third-person limited point of view scenario. Maya stood at the edge of a diving board, her toes curling over the rough surface. Her heart raced as she looked down at the pool below. The water seemed so far away, and her legs felt like jelly. She wasn't sure she could do it. From the poolside, her friends cheered her on, but their voices were distant, drowned out by the thumping in her ears. "What if I slip?" she thought. "What if I can't swim fast enough?" She glanced at the water again, taking a deep breath. Forcing her fear aside, she leapt into the air, her body slicing through the surface of the pool a moment later. In this third-person limited point of view, the narrator only reveals Maya's thoughts and feelings. We don't know what the friends are thinking or feeling, only what Maya experiences from her perspective. Third-person omniscient. The narrator knows everything about all the characters, their thoughts, feelings, and actions. Here is a short example of a third-person omniscient point of view scenario. Emma sat quietly in the cafe, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. She was nervous about the job interview, though she tried to hide it. Inside, her thoughts raced. What if I say something stupid? What if they don't like me? Across the room, The barista, Jake, noticed her fidgeting. He didn't know her, but he could tell she was anxious. He'd seen that look before. People worrying about something important. Poor girl, he thought. She's probably got a big meeting or something. Meanwhile, outside the cafe, a storm was gathering. Dark clouds rolled in, and an older man passing by, Mr. Thompson, pulled his coat tighter. He always hated storms. They reminded him of the night he lost his wife. He glanced briefly into the cafe window at the young woman inside, unaware of the swirling emotions around him. In this third-person omniscient point of view, the narrator knows the thoughts and feelings of multiple characters, Emma, Jake, and Mr. Thompson, and can jump between their perspectives. This gives the reader a broad view of what's happening in the scene. Thanks for watching!